So I was born in Vietnam in 1975, towards the end of the Vietnam War. From what I was told, I was born in a Seventh-day Adventist hospital. Because I don't look Vietnamese, right? So people ask me, like, so what are you? And I tell them I'm Vietnamese and GI. And they ask me, what is GI? And I say, well, it stands for government issued, which is, G.I. Joe, if anybody, remembers a cartoon, it's GI stands for government issued, because I'm a war baby. My mom, is Vietnamese, and my dad was probably a U.S. soldier that was out in Vietnam. And so because it was during war and he was a soldier, he probably left. Being a half-breed, especially during the war, the communists were looking to pretty much just eradicate, the half-breeds, really. So I was put into a Catholic orphanage. My dad, who adopted me, grew up Catholic, and my mom grew up Buddhist. Growing up in this type of household where it's a non-practicing Catholic, non-practicing Buddhist household, I really didn't have a foundation of faith. I knew about Jesus, I believed in God, but I didn't know who Jesus was. It wasn't until I started dating my wife that I started attending the Seventh-day Adventist Church. I still wasn't a member yet, but we were going to church. And the reason why is because I felt like she was the one. Like, this is the woman that I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. My reason for going to church was to meet her family, to get to know her mom, get to know her dad, get to know her brothers. And the only time I could do that was on Sabbath. So we would start going to church. Just so I could get to know her siblings. So as we were dating and getting to know each other and getting to know her family, the rest of her family would ask, "Oh, hey, is Todd gonna convert? Is Todd gonna become a Christian?" And I would flat out tell them, no, that's not what I need. We got married in 2005, and in 2008 we had our first child. All of a sudden, you have that realization that God is real. And that's what it was for me, is, man, everything that I've done in my life, all the screw-ups that I've ever done in my life, even though I've did all those things, God is still going to bless me with the biggest responsibility that I could possibly have, and that's being a father to a child. I was like, well, God has to be real. And it was because of that I decided to dedicate my life and surrender and accept Him as my Lord and Savior. I didn't even tell my wife or her family that I was going through Bible studies. I was telling her I was going to the gym, but I was actually having Bible studies with our pastor. And I would come back home and I'd be like, "Hey babe, I have a question about this." And she was wondering, like, why is Todd asking me these questions, And to me, it was true. She grew up in church, so she should know these answers. And so me asking her the questions was like, okay, she actually had to go back and start reading the Bible again, and that's what brought her back to church. So it was a surprise baptism for my wife and her family. Being born in the Seventh-day Adventist hospital and then being reborn in the Seventh-day Adventist church, it's that full circle moment without me even realizing or knowing that that's where my life was headed, was coming back to really where I was born, and that was, as an Adventist. From the moment I met my wife, like, he was like, "You're gonna come to me. Through this woman, you're gonna come to me, and your life will never be the same again." And it's true. My life, if you ask anybody I grew up with, they would say that I'm not the same person I was when they knew me. It just amazes me the path that God put me on to come to Him. God had His own plan for me. God has had His own plan for my family. With my kids, I look at them every day and I just marvel at the blessing that God has given me and my wife. Because who's my real parents, right? Because I've never met my biological parents. And so when my son was born, my son and my three other kids, they are literally my only blood relatives, right? So with that, it's like, okay, that void of, who am I? Who's my family? God filled that void with these children, with my blood family now.